You see it everywhere now, right? From the tennis court to the soccer pitch, automated officiating is just part of the game. We trust this tech to make these incredibly precise calls. But have you ever actually stopped to think about where this whole revolution really kicked off? I promise you, the answer is not what you think.
So where did the robot umpire really come from? You might think you know, but the origin story is this fantastic tale of how one single, super frustrating problem in one sport led to a technology that would completely change all sports forever.
Okay, so what are the obvious guesses? Soccer, right? With its goal line technology. Or maybe tennis, with all those dramatic line calls. Well, nope, both wrong. The real answer comes from a much more traditional and, frankly, a way more unexpected place.
That's right, cricket, the sport known for its long, storied history and its kind of complex rules. That's the surprising birthplace of the tech that now powers officiating in some of the fastest, most modern games on the entire planet.
So what was this problem in cricket? What was so difficult, so frustrating, that it basically demanded a high-tech solution? Well, it all boils down to one of the absolute trickiest calls in all of sports. It's called leg before wicket, or just LBW. And here's where it gets kind of wild. The problem is the umpire isn't just ruling on something they saw. No, they have to basically become a fortune teller. They have to predict the future path of a super fast-moving ball after it was blocked by the player's leg. And that's the key word right there, subjective. I mean, was the ball turning? Was it going to bounce too high? It was this moment of pure prediction, and for decades, it was one of the most controversial and flat-out difficult judgment calls a human being had to make.
So, this was the fundamental clash. On one hand, you've got the human umpire, who's just relying on instinct and a split-second guess. But on the other, there was this desperate need for something better, something objective, based on data, that could give you a precise and consistent answer every single time. The stage was set for a big idea.
Now, every great invention needs an inventor. And in this story, the inventor wasn't some big sports league or a giant tech corporation. He was just a fan who was completely fed up with seeing bad calls ruin the game. And that's really the crucial point here. The person who solved this massive problem was driven by the exact same feeling that every sports fan gets every weekend. That pure frustration when you see a call that you just know is wrong.
His name is Dr. Paul Hawkins, and back in 1999, he was the perfect storm. He was a passionate cricket fan, he even played, so he understood the frustrations firsthand. But, and this is the key, he had also just earned his PhD in artificial intelligence. He was looking at this old problem through a totally new lens.
And that's when the light bulb just went on. Hawkins realized that this prediction that umpires were forced to make, it wasn't magic, it was just a physics and data problem. It was math. And it was a problem that his field, AI, was perfectly designed to solve.
So he created a system that we now know as Hawkeye. You've definitely heard the name, but the real genius of it is how elegantly simple the idea is. So how does it actually turn a guess into a certainty?
Well, it all starts with collecting data. The system uses at least 6 high-speed cameras placed all around the field. And these are not your regular cameras. They're capturing the ball's movement from all these different angles with incredible precision.
And here's how it all comes together. First, the cameras track the ball's path right up until the second it hits the player. Then, the system takes all that visual data and builds a perfect 3D model of its flight path. And finally, this is the brilliant part. It uses that data to calculate, with pinpoint accuracy, exactly where that ball would have gone.
What this does is it completely takes the guess out of the equation. It's no longer an umpire's opinion versus a player's opinion. It's just a precise calculation based on hard data that is so much more reliable than the human eye could ever be.
But the story doesn't stop there, because what started as a solution for one tricky call in cricket, well, it was about to have a ripple effect across the entire world of sports.
At first, Hawkeye was just a cool graphic for TV broadcasts, to show viewers what might have happened. But very quickly, its accuracy was just undeniable. Soon, teams were officially using it to challenge calls, and before you knew it, it became a core part of the game's officiating. A trusted third umpire.
And from there, it just exploded. That same fundamental technology, using cameras to track an object and predict its path, is what powers line calls in tennis, goal line decisions in soccer, and officiating aids in dozens of other sports. And it all started with one fan and one tricky call.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
What seems like a subjective, totally unsolvable problem in our world today is probably just waiting for the right person with the right idea to come along and change everything. So what do you think is next?